How hard is your brother? Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Wonderful.
Hey, VC here. So I want to talk about this wet and wild crazy race in Texas and talk about risk versus how much energy I'm putting out. You can see Corey, that the dude in the blue. I'm on their team, the Cadence Cyclery team. And if you've watched the vlog, Grayson, he had told me, dude, be alert, be on the front because the first lap's going to be really fast. You know, don't get split off on the very beginning. But you can see here, and this is what I'm going to talk about the whole race, is how little risk I was taking, and so how much energy I had to put out to compensate for how little risk I was doing. Now, look, this was the first time on this course, and I'm on a borrowed bike with backwards brakes. Like, you know, dude, I was kind of freaking out about it. But so let's sort of look at it like this, because this is how it is, right? Is the lower amount of risk that I'm going to take means that the higher amount of energy I have to put out. And that comes in turns and being close to guys, being right on someone's wheel, you know, and so here you can see the risk and the energy and then my brain full of oxygen, way overthinking everything. Like I went through this turn at 22 right there. At the end of the race, when I was hypoxic and had no oxygen in my brain, I was going through there at 26. But so right now I'm thinking like, dude, I'm in another state. I cannot wreck. If I wreck, how horrible that would be. Could I even get home? Could I even get back to California? Just like thinking about my family and work and all these things that are running through my mind. And so I'm taking literally no risk whatsoever. I'm erring on the side of caution heavily. But because I'm doing that, I'm having to completely lean on all of my fitness and just use so much energy to close down these gaps. Dude, this corner was nuts. Like, you can't really see how much of a dip that is, but you just dip, and then, you know, you're like having to hit out these 800 watt bombs, like while you're leaned over. So crazy. But you can see, like, as my brain loses a little bit of oxygen, I start to reconsider the risk versus reward here, right? And so I only can do so many snaps to 800 watts. And so like here, as I'm progressing through the race and my brain is losing oxygen, I'm starting to use a little less energy, but take a little more risk. And I mean, I never really maxed out my risk, just because like I just really didn't want to get hurt. But I wanted to play and I want to have fun, and there's just a certain point where I have to trade, you know, how much energy I'm putting out for how much risk I'm taking. And so you can see, like, as the race kind of progressed, I was a little more closer to guys' wheels and going into the turns a little bit faster than I usually or that I was in the very beginning. And, you know, the team that I'm guest riding on, these guys were they were so legit, dude. Grayson, he was from South Africa, and he's like a ex-pro like triathlete. What are the Xterra athletes? Anyway, so they were riding really well. And again, here you can see my brain, I'm losing oxygen, and so I've got to like step it up even more and trade more risk to use less energy, just because it doesn't matter how strong I am or if I had good legs, eventually I'm going to completely burn through all of my energy stores. And so, and this is what made this race actually so crazy, is that guys were able to take huge risks to close down gaps in these turns. So there was like almost always someone off the front or some group off the front. And here I kind of try to move forward because I'm just like, dude, I am just dangling on the back the whole, first 20 minutes of this race. It was like I was almost getting dropped. Like I was just always off the back. And so I was like, dude, I can't do that. I got to move up forward. But now I got to take a little more risk and bang bars with these guys, because the guys in the front, well, I mean, they're not being sissy lalas about these turns. I am though. And so you can see like now I've got no oxygen in my brain left, and so now I've got to use way more risk, way more bike handling skills, way more, I guess, arrows in the quiver, if you will, versus using so much energy or just relying on just my legs. And so you can see that I'm like way closer to these guys now. I still, though, was pretty timid in the turns, but you can see that I'm on the very front of the race, and so I'm having to take a little more risk to be here. But this guy in the green, he starts to go, and since I'm already on his wheel, right, and I've kind of like kept my momentum, I don't have to completely destroy my legs or my heart to go with this move. And so it took more risk to be here, but I'm able to get way more out of my fitness because I'm not having to use a ton of energy to like bridge up this gap, or if I'm in the back now, having to close gaps of guys getting dropped off. But so like these dudes, dude, we go into this little dip at 30 freaking miles an hour, 29 miles an hour, okay? I'm sorry, bro, that's a lot of risk. And I kind of like kept it onto the inside, and I mean, they did gap me a little bit, but I took way more risk than I was super comfortable with, to allow for me to not, I don't know, get dropped or stay with these guys. So enough of this little risk versus energy thing. I think you get it. Let's talk a little bit more about the actual race, right? So I was at the front for a little while, so now I'm gonna like kind of back down and get a little recovery. But boy, it was difficult. A lot of guys were just opening up gaps. I think a lot of other people in this race kind of had that same feeling of risk versus reward, and a lot of guys not wanting to take huge risks. So there was always like these crazy gaps like this that were opening up, right? Or maybe it was just me, the only one opening up gaps. Guys start to go. Grayson right here like uses his momentum, flies around. Dude, again, their team was just, the cadence cyclery team was just on point, dude. Those guys were riding so well together. I think they ride a lot together, and so they really know, who to watch, who to go when someone's weak or gassing out. It's kind of crazy. But so then check this out, bro. We are about to lap all of those people up here. Look at all these guys. They are all getting lapped. They all got split off in the first half of this race, and we're about to lap them. And I'm thinking like, the group that's about to get lapped, they're not slowing down. They're not pulling off to the side. They're not letting anyone go. And then you got guys from this group jumping up to the lapped group, sort of in this like total chaos. And so then we're like passing them, but it's wet and it's rainy and I can't see anything. And now I don't know, dude, who's getting lapped and who's not. These guys are like, I mean, look at everyone like splitting apart in the front. But the guys that are getting lapped, they're getting back into the group. Okay. I mean, it's just a Tuesday night crit. So, I mean, I think that's okay to get back into the race. But there were so many guys trying to get back into the race that it was sort of, you didn't know who was tired or exhausted. And so then just the whole lap was me like jumping, like, leapfrogging from one wheel to another. But then also just not taking a lot of risk in the turns. And so just, man, I think I puked in my mouth here during this point because there was just constantly these little issues, right? Like those two guys opening up these gaps, me trying to get back onto the wheel. And it's windy, man. I mean, it might not look windy, but with the rain and everything, it's really hard for me anyway, to keep momentum through the turns. So it's like I get back onto the group. I'm like, oh my goodness, that was a nightmare. That was really difficult to get back on. And then these two guys are rolling off, right? They're not going to get back on. So I got to close another gap. And then right here, again, I don't know, dude. I don't know this guy in front of me. He could be a Masters world champion for all I know. But then, he's just like, dude, I'm good. I'm done. So it's like, shoot, dude, I got to close this gap. So literally it was an entire lap of me being in a really bad situation, being in the very back because I was trying to limit my risk. I was trying to not take any risk. And that I had to pay for that. I had to pay for that greatly by putting out so much energy on that lap. I did get back in though, and so that was cool because it was very close to me not getting back in. I think a lot of guys in that little scuffle of lapping that kind of got broken off. It was nuts, dude. I don't know. I don't know if there could have done anything different. But so I'm now full hypoxic. This move starts to go. I see the two teammates that I'm with, and I'm gonna shoot this gap now. And you know what I mean? I sort of like hold up and I say, hey, but I kind of had to slow down, which then means I'm having to just throw this huge amount of watts out. If I wanted to not have to put out this much watts, I could have just Justin Williamsed it and like shoulder charged everyone out of the way. You know what I mean? And took more risk to then not have to put out as much energy. I mean, I think for me, I took a risk by shooting that gap when I could have not done that. But anyway, so now here I'm 193 beats per minute. I've just been maxed for like 2 or 3 laps. And this is the point where I think if something's gonna go, it's gonna go now because everyone's tired, right? If I'm tired, everyone else is tired. I see Elbows, dude, legit team, sweet bike. He starts to go, and I'm thinking if he goes, this is the move. He doesn't want to do it. Everyone's on his wheel. He was super marked. And so I'm in position now to work for the team. And I kind of want to get some good YouTube footage, right? I want to show that I'm doing something for the team I'm guest riding for. So I get on the front and I keep it strung out. I keep the pace high, hoping that, right, because there's a guy off the front. And I got to try to not bring him back, but just make it to where he doesn't get half a lap, you know, instantly, where everyone's just sitting up. So I make it to where no one's sitting up. We're going pretty hard. And then the Cadence team that I'm with, Corey, just like knows that I've been pulling for a half a lap. So he comes to the front and guys start to rail back. I mean, it was crazy how many moves, like every lap there was like a guy off the front or a group off the front, and it just always got brought back. And Grayson explains in the vlog kind of a little bit more about that and why that was happening. So here, after a break, after I recovered, I moved up. I know the footage is, dude, and if you think the footage is bad, bro, I could see 0 things. Like I had no clue what was going on. The visibility was horrible. But Grayson is up here with one of his teammates, and they've now let the blurry guys up, and like you can't really see them. But I think there's 2 Cadence guys in this little group that's up the road. And so we're sort of blocking. And then Grayson tells me to close, like to block the inside. I didn't really understand what he was saying. And so that guy shoots that gap and Grayson goes with him. And then this is sort of where we're getting close to the end. And dude, I wussed out, man. I wussed out so hard. Everyone was going super fast and starting to take way more risks because now everyone else is hypoxic. Everyone else is starting to race for the win, right? And I pretty much just fell to the back. Didn't really even realize that I was that far to the back, and I didn't even realize that the group, how strung out it was. I was just kind of staring at the guy in front of me, which is not great, right? But again, visibility was dude, unreal, bro. It was I couldn't see anything, and it was super dark. Like this is a twilight crit, so I know that this doesn't look really dark. It was so dark, and I end up getting. I'm on the way back. I shouldn't be here. I don't even realize that gaps are opening up. This guy waves me on here in front of me. He's just like, you know, I'm done. I'm not in it. I don't know that. So he waves. And I'm like, shoot. And then I see the gap, and the gap's so big. It's like, dang it, dude. What? You know, but I mean, this is the thing, right? Is look, I traded risk for effort. And I think a lot of times I do that. These guys everyone's kind of falling off. This is the last half a lap, right? So I traded being safe, which is good. Okay. But I roasted all my matches for moments of the race that really didn't matter, right? I was not going through the turn fast, and so having to close these gaps that I was personally making. And, you know, I think it's acceptable during a race like this where it's super rainy and crazy and you're on a bike with backwards brakes and whatever, but I feel like I do this a lot, man. I think that even on like a good day, I often side more with less risk and kind of just burn matches that I don't need to burn. I need to be more patient. That's a thing that I've been working on, but also just be more efficient. So, just want to talk about this. Maybe you see this and you see in the trade-off of risk versus energy and efficiency. So, there you go. I just want to say that let's leave it off on this, that one, the Cadence boys were so awesome. Everyone in this race was so awesome. It felt like everyone raced like they had to go to work the next day. So even though it was rainy and kind of sketchy, it actually ended up being super safe. No one wrecked. As if we're in California, I feel like it's hard to compare these two because it's a rainy race, and so it's really difficult to compare with like the two guys' fitness levels, California versus Texas. But what it felt like is in California, guys just are always full send, just shooting gaps, bumping you all the time. It's a little more chaotic. Guys are taking it, feels like, a little more serious in California than they did here. But that's also, this was a Tuesday night crit, so it's like, how serious are you going to take a Tuesday night thing? So yeah, I mean, the guys, some of these top guys are super legit national caliber riders. So it was a hard race for sure. I think that the discrepancy between fitness levels was pretty high in this because you didn't have like masters or elites. It was just like everyone together. So I felt like there was a few guys that, probably were just not wanting to take that much risk and opening gaps like I was opening up a ton of gaps. But it was super awesome. So I really thank you to everyone in Texas for hosting me, letting this race go on, and just being awesome humans. Can't wait to come out again. I'll actually be out at Texas again in San Antonio for the Red Bull Last Stand this weekend. There you go. As always, guys, vegan cyclist. Yeah.